Ever tried extending your growing season only to watch your greens get wiped out by the first hard frost? It's frustrating, especially when you know there's a simple solution that could keep you harvesting fresh salads well into winter. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to build a hinged hoop house for your raised bed garden, step by step. This is the same design I use in my own backyard, and it's kept my greens thriving even when temperatures drop into the teens. Plus, stick around to the end, because I'll show you how to upgrade to a double-layer system for even more cold protection. Let's get into it. A hinged hoop house is one of the best investments you can make for your raised bed garden. It's affordable, it's not that difficult to build, and it lets you grow fresh food months longer than you normally could. The hinge design is what really makes this special, because you can easily lift the whole thing up for watering, harvesting, and ventilation. Once you understand how the pieces fit together, you'll have this built in an afternoon. So let's start by building the frame. The first thing we need to do is build a wooden frame that sits right on top of your raised bed. This frame is what everything else attaches to, so getting it right matters. You're going to use 2x4s for this. Start by measuring the length and width of the top of your raised bed. You want your frame to match those dimensions exactly so it sits flush on top. Now here's something important. Your two side pieces need to run the full length of the bed. The reason for this is that your hinges are going to attach to one of these long side pieces. If you put the hinge on a short end piece instead, you're going to get a lot of torque and twisting over time as you open and close the hoop house. Trust me, you don't want that. Cut your two long side pieces first, then measure, and cut your two shorter end pieces for the front and back. Lay everything out on top of your raised bed to make sure the fit is good. When you're happy with how it looks, it's time to attach the pieces together. I like to pre-drill with a countersink bit so the screws sit flush. Use 3.5-inch deck screws because they're strong and they won't rust. Put 2 screws in each corner joint. One tip here. If one of your boards has a slight twist to it, and they often do, push it down flat while you're driving the screws in. That'll take the twist out and give you a nice flat frame. Now that your frame is together, we need to attach the caps that are going to hold your PVC hoops. You're going to use 1/2-inch PVC caps for this. Place one cap at each corner on the inside of the frame. The reason we put them on the inside is so that if you ever want to add a second layer for a double hoop house, you'll have room on the outside for those larger hoops. Pre-drill a small hole in the bottom of each cap so you don't split the plastic. Then use an 1.25-inch screw to attach each cap to the wood. You want the screw long enough to hold strong, but not so long that it goes all the way through and pokes out the other side. Once you've got all 4 corner caps attached, it's time to figure out the length of your hoops. Measure the distance across the inside of your frame from one cap to the other. Let's say that distance is 45 inches. Divide that by 2 to get your radius, which would be 22.5 inches. Then multiply that by 3.14, which is pi. That gives you the length for a perfect half circle. But here's what I do. I subtract about 2 inches from that number. This makes the hoop just slightly shorter than a perfect half circle, which leaves room for airflow and also gives you space if you decide to add a second layer later. If you're finding this helpful so far, take a second to subscribe so you don't miss future videos like this one. All right, let's keep going. Now we're going to create and attach the hoops themselves. You'll need 1/2-inch PVC pipe for this. Based on your calculations, cut 3 pieces of PVC to the same length. I usually go with 68 inches for a standard raised bed, but your measurements might be different depending on your bed size. Once you've got your 3 pieces cut, it's time to attach them. Start at one end and slide the PVC into the cap. You'll need to bend it to get the other end into the cap on the opposite side. Standing on the frame while you do this helps keep everything from sliding around. Work your way down and attach all 3 hoops the same way. For the 2 end hoops, you're going to slide T-connectors onto the PVC before you attach them. These T-connectors are what your support pieces, called purlins, are going to attach to. Put 3 T-connectors on each end hoop, spacing them so you'll have one at the top and one on each side. The middle hoop doesn't need T-connectors since it's just there for extra support. With your hoops in place, now we need to add the purlins. These are horizontal support pieces that run the length of the hoop house and connect all the hoops together. They're essential because they keep the whole structure rigid and prevent it from collapsing under the weight of snow or heavy rain. You'll need 3 purlins. One runs along the top connecting all 3 hoops, and 2 more run along the sides. Cut pieces of 1/2-inch PVC to fit between your T-connectors. Slide them into place and make sure they're snug. You don't want them so tight that they bow the hoops inward, and you don't want them so loose that the hoops bow outward. When you've got all 3 purlins attached, your frame should feel solid and sturdy. I also like to use a little electrical tape where the purlins meet the middle hoop just to keep everything secure. Electrical tape works great for this because it's waterproof and holds up well outdoors. Now comes the exciting part. Let's get the plastic on. You want to use 6mm greenhouse plastic for this. It's thick enough to provide good insulation, but still lets plenty of light through for your plants. Unroll your plastic and drape it over the top of your hoop frame. Give yourself plenty of overhang on all sides so you can pull it tight. The tighter you get this plastic, the better it's going to shed snow and rain. I like to use spring clamps to temporarily hold the plastic in place while I work. Start on one long side and attach a furring strip over the plastic using 1¼ screws. The furring strip sandwiches the plastic against the wooden frame and holds it securely. Once one side is attached, move to the opposite side. Pull the plastic as tight as you can and attach another furring strip. Then do the same thing on both ends. Pull the plastic toward the center, get it tight, and screw down your furring strips. When you're done, go around and trim off any excess plastic with scissors or a utility knife. The last step is attaching the hinges so you can open and close your hoop house. Position the frame on your raised bed and make sure all the corners line up nicely. Use 2 or 3 hinges along the back edge, attaching them to both the hoop house frame and the top edge of your raised bed. Once the hinges are in place, test it out. The whole thing should lift up smoothly and stay open while you work inside. I also like to add a small stainless steel handle on the front. It makes opening and closing so much easier, and stainless steel won't rust on you. Let's talk about a few problems you might run into. If your plastic starts sagging after a heavy snow, it probably wasn't pulled tight enough when you attached it. You can add extra clamps along the edges to tighten things up. If you notice your hoops bowing inward or outward, check your purlin lengths and adjust as needed. And if you live in a really windy area, consider adding hooks and guy wires to keep the hoop house from catching wind and flipping up unexpectedly. Now for that bonus tip I promised. If you want even more cold protection, you can easily add a second layer of plastic on the outside of your existing hoop house. Just attach larger PVC caps on the outside of your frame, use slightly longer PVC pipes, and repeat the same process. That air gap between the 2 layers acts as insulation and can give you an extra 10 to 15 degrees of frost protection. I've harvested fresh greens in January using this double layer method. That's everything you need to know about building your own hinged hoop house. If this helped you out, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Drop any questions in the comments below, and I'd love to hear how your build goes. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.